So it's Friday, July 14th, 2017. I'm in southern Illinois. I'm in a river bottom, or actually a creek bottom. It floods periodically. My conditions here are that I don't have much in the way of acorn trees or mass-producing trees. There are some oak trees that I do have, but just not very many. This area right in here is going to be an area that I'm trying something totally new with, and that's build a floodable, I guess really a moist soil impoundment for hunting ducks and feeding ducks. And if you've watched some of my other videos, I have some video on some food plots that I plant for deer. This is not, this is actually very, very close to an apple orchard that I have talked about as far as food plots for deer. But this is going to be totally different. This is a duck. It's going to hopefully be duck paradise when I get done. What I've gotten is a permit from the Corps to build this. This isn't the best area in my property, but it was about the only area I could get permission to do something like this that I would consider the best area, but we're going to do it because this is where I can. If you look on the ground here, you'll see that this vegetation isn't very high. The growth isn't very high, and the reason is because most of the year this has water in it. Not very much, about 6 inches, 8 inches, some places a foot. You'll see there's some areas over here that are even a little bit lower if I walk this way. And we've mowed some of this to get a better idea of what the lay of the land is. But if you look over by that tree, and that just past that sunlight there, that's lower, and that'll be about a foot deep with water in it. But this is pretty dry. It actually just rained, but overall down here it's really dry right now, which is what I need to be able to get a dozer or any other kind of equipment down here to do any of this work. The permit that I have allows me to take out small trees to reestablish sloughs that exist. It's kind of the synopsis of it. You can see, like right in here, all small trees. Pretty small trees all in here. Pretty small trees all in here. And to my left, small trees. To my left here, some more small trees. And you come back here and you get to some just a little bit bigger trees and a little bit higher ground. So what we're going to do is come in here with a dozer and start clearing trees and burning. These are all mostly maple trees, box elder trees, some ash, just nothing mass producing. It's just not a very good environment for ducks really, or deer. And so we're going to try to enhance it a little bit. So my whole project, I'm trying to stay a little under an acre. Doing it this way, I'm going to have to try and just go with the way the land lays, and I'm going to have to get down here with some equipment and start the process so I can see where I need to do things at. But get a little different perspective on some of this property here. Over there's a tree with an O on it. I'm just marking them to save. That's a oak tree. And that red line that you see over there, that ribbon, that's my property line. So I'm going to go right up against my property line and clean out all the way to over there. And I do have permission to build a small berm to do this, so that'll probably be where a berm is. Now I'm going to walk a little bit to my east, kind of show you some more of the property and how this is all going to lay. I am designing it to be drainable, hopefully, so that I can plant in here. So like right now, hopefully next year this will all be rice or millet or something like that. You can see how bad it gets wet down here, how that tree is going to come out of the ground pretty soon on its own. Doesn't have hardly anything holding it in. But I'm over here and I'm still going east, and there's still, you can see where the vegetation just isn't growing because this has just started growing. These are all little maple trees, and it just started growing because the water just receded in here. And this is going to be the before shots. all this area, all these little trees that you see in here. The big ones have to stay, but all these little ones are gonna go, and we're gonna scrape this out just a little bit to reestablish that slough. And what do you know? An oak tree right in the middle. That is an oak tree. I noticed it because it looked like there was acorns on it initially, but that's what that is. Which for me, an oak tree is like gold. So I try to keep as many of them as I can. And since pin oaks, this isn't a pin oak. This is some family of white oak, probably swamp oak. We'll do fine in the water probably, especially since I'm not gonna put that much water in here. This is all the big trees stay, and then there'll be some high spots, and we'll have different vegetation on the high spots than the low spots, and it'll create a really nice habitat. Some of this is actually going to turn into a food plot for deer. Japanese millet is a good food source for deer. That might be what I plant here. And even in the spots where, since I'm going to be getting a lot more light in here as a result of all this work, I can get some other things to grow on the higher ground, and none of it's high. This whole area is one of the lowest spots I have on my property, and my property all sits in a floodplain. But I am on a duck flyway, and my neighbors have a pond right over here, and they shoot about 200 ducks a year out of it, so I'll get ducks to fly over, I'll get ducks to land. How successful this will end up being, don't know. Here we are in another area. I'm east, and again, low area right in here. There's not even very much vegetation in here. But we'll be taking out all these small trees that you see all in here. All these little trees I'm pointing at, these will all go down. If they're not an oak tree, if they're not a hickory tree, they're going. And then we'll work on this area to try and establish a moist soil impoundment. The idea is, I don't know if I'm going to get all the way over there, but there is a small dry creek. Long story short, it's a creek that was bypassed by a channel that was dug by the Corps of Engineers, and so it's mostly dry except for when it floods. Works out good for me because it's right next to this area, so I have a lower place that I can actually drain to. But it's a good another probably 50 yards that way. And here's a box elder, and it's a smaller tree. It'll come down. Box elder, maple. Just looking around to see this type of trees and show you. And there's a big silver maple we'll have to keep over there. That's a silver maple right there. It'll have to stay. Dead trees I think we can take down, and even if they're large. So this whole area won't be trees anymore. This will all be open. So